Hey there, this is K4A, Knowledge for All educational videos and tutorials. Today I will finally start the K4A Q&A series, and in that group of videos I will try to answer on your questions. That's why it's called Q&A, questions and answers. And we start with one question which was asked a long time ago, I think a year or so, where internet guy commented on a video which was called Destroy Instance. Hey, so I want to make it so that when my player runs into a block, the block plays through a set of frames, and then on the final frame it is destroyed. Any ideas? So he has some kind of problem or something like that he cannot solve, so let's try to help him if he is still into GameMaker and alive. Instead of using this running into a block, I have used graphic arts of ticking bomb just to be more interesting, or maybe more usable for you in some kind of games, and again just to show you how it's easy to develop on ideas and reuse one code, one idea to develop something which is more complex. Anyway, so we have this problem here, and let's try to solve it. This is how it would look in real life in terms of GameMaker, in terms of what would we have as end result. Very simple scene with one white square as player which can move left and right. That's movement, and he can run into two objects, into two blocks. The left one was the simpler, the one which we have explained before with instance destroy. So the moment I touch that instance, it will be destroyed, and the problem on the right is now solved. It's about how some object instance will get destroyed after some set of frames, after some time. So after 5 seconds or 5 frames I destroyed this bomb. So again, very effective, very simple, but also very usable in your games or in different kinds of games scenarios. So this is the problem, and now we will jump to solution, but first in some kind of theory in terms of the way that I will try to explain things, and the way I already do that in my tutorials in general is trying to show you how and why some things work, not only how in terms of hey, this is how you click it here and here and that's how it's done, but more in why and how you can approach the next problem or something like that, the next idea on your own, and use the previous knowledge and how to advance in that way. I think that's much more effective and smarter to try to develop yourself in those terms, how to grow on that level. So I have called this problem delayed instance destroy, because as I have just said in this video, which was fifth in my GameMaker drag and roll blocks series, and which was called destroy instance, we have already explained how to destroy instance on the screen, and that was relatively easy. Just use the simple block, the one block, and you can use it, for example, to destroy or collect coins on the screen, destroy some blocks, collect or something like that. So that would be instance destroy, but now we have instance destroy after some time, after some animation frames are played through. So I called it delayed instance destroy, and the first thing, which is probably the most important, is to define the question, the problem, as precisely as you can. The guy which asked the question here on my YouTube channel was relatively good. I mean, really good. His question was smart in terms of he made it precisely, and so I could start solving the problem and work on it. And at least I think I have understood what he wanted to ask, and that's very, very important. So again, when you work for some kind of studio or as a game developer for some other client, you will be getting some game design document or some features you have to code, so all of those problems and ideas would be somehow presented to you. They would be defined. But even if you make your own game, try to define your features, game design problems, ideas, however you call them, as precisely as possible. And that's very, very important, and most of the people, especially beginner and intermediate developers, not only game developers, struggle with that, and they do not understand that if you define the question and approach it that way, to define it precisely, and then the next thing would be to divide that question, that problem, into smaller ones, you have already almost solved completely your problem. And most of the people just avoid it. They skip to coding right away and make that mistake instead of approaching the problem first, like, hey, what's the question, what's the idea, let's define it. Then when I define it precisely, I can go to next step and divide the problem into smaller ones, so we know what can we solve. Okay, I have this problem, this problem, this problem, I can solve this one, this one, this one, and so on. I cannot this one. So you can that way you can approach it faster and easier, and even if you have some problems which you cannot solve on your own, it would be easier just to that way divide them and present them to someone else who is able to help you. So let's read that question once again and try to divide it into smaller problems. Okay, so I want to make it so, okay, that when my player runs into a block, okay, so when my player runs into a block, the block plays through a set of frames, that's another thing, and then on the final frame it's destroyed. So at least I see at least 3 sections, 3 blocks, and that's how I would approach it. If you would approach it some other way, it's also okay, cool, but I have approached it this way. Okay, the first thing would be when player runs into block. So I see a couple of things there. First I see player, so we need to code some kind of player here. We have done that lots of time in GameMaker and other game engines, and in GameMaker that could be called object with some sprite in it. Okay, so I know how to put the player into game, and that player runs, so he can move in the game. So my player, which I just created, he has to move. Again, we have done that in GameMaker, in Scratch, in other game engines. So you should be able to do it on your own. I will show the code here fast later, just to show you the simplest way for this example. But this again, and I have used the blue color here, which represents something which we already know, which we can do. So okay, I know how to put the player into the game, how to make him move, and how to run into a block. The player runs into a block. What that means? That means that I have to move my player to code his movement and to check out when the player collides with some kind of other object which is called block. In my case it's bomb, but it's the same, it's just different image of bomb instead of block. And that is also something which we have already worked on in previous videos in Scratch, in GameMaker, so we know how to code simple collision with collision event. I will show that also soon here, but you should be able to code this part of the problem here. Player runs into a block. Can you do it? Can you do it on your own without watching my code and so on? Where is the problem for you to do that if you don't know how to do it and so on? So you can pause the video and try to do it on your own. And we have some kind of timing when I put that into red color because it's still a mystery to me, because it's connected to other problems. Let's see other problems. What are they? Okay, so when the player runs into block, what happens? That block plays through a set of frames, and for me, or at least for you who are watching this video, for most of you guys, that's a mystery, that's a problem, because you probably don't know how to code animation through a set of frames in terms of how to check that or how to control that, how to use that. We have mentioned a couple of times what the frames are. They are collection of sprites. When you have more than one sprite in sprite itself, we will show that on an example soon. And also we showed how you can play it. We have explained that in my recent tutorials, I think. Yeah, set animation speed, for example, I have explained. This one was around half an hour. I have explained how to use animation to control sprite animation frames and so on. So we know a little bit about it and how to use it. So we will use that knowledge, which was recent, relatively new for some of you, but in the moment when this guy was asking this question, I couldn't explain that without using, for example, this block, set animation speed and so on. So again, if you're doing it on your own, you have to explore as many GameMaker features and functions as possible. Okay, so I put that into red because it's a problem for me, for the guy who is asking the question. He doesn't know how to do it, and I have even divided into a couple of other steps. The next one would be final frame. So again, we have talked about it in some of my videos, but we will have to do it again in some simplest, shortest way now. And also is destroyed. Is destroyed is blue because we know how to do it. That's what this guy was. He was asking the question on the same video, the video destroy instance. So if he needs the instance to be destroyed, he knows how to do it, but he doesn't know how to connect it through animation, through a set of frames, and to make it happen on a final frame. Okay, so all of those next steps I will talk about them later. So now let's get to code. Once again, let's just go through our game to see what do we have on the screen. Okay, so I have a white square as an OBJ player moving left and right. Okay, so when the player moves and when he runs into, for example, simple block, the block is destroyed. That's what we have learned before, and this one is actually what this guy needs to have in his game after some kind of frames. Okay, so let's just run through. I will run you through the simple code of those elements on the screen if you don't have them. For the player, I have used the simple white square because I don't need anything more complex, and I have told the GameMaker to move that player when I do what? When I add event key down, you can use left or right. I have used A, letters A and letters D, A for left, D for right, and I said, okay, so when I press the button A on my keyboard, do what? Jump to point, and that one is the part of the movement, I think, blocks. Yeah, movement, so click and drag this one, jump to point, and I said move 5 pixels to the left, and because it's to the left, that's -5, and because I want that to happen all the time while my keyboard press A is pressed, I check the relative box. Same goes with key down D. When I press and hold my D button my key on my keyboard, I want my player to move 5 pixels on my x-axis, that means go right 5 pixels, and do that relative, that means edit on every frame while the game runs and while I hold my keyboard. So that's all you need to code this guy moving left and right. So let's see now this guy who is called obj bomb. What do we have in it? In obj bomb, again, very simple. That's what we have explained in some previous video. We have some kind of sprite bomb added here as a sprite to it. This was a custom sprite made by me just to make it more interesting and fun to see. Very simple black circle with some kind of brown fuse and some kind of gray highlight. And the more important thing here is that you want to check when this white square player touches the obj bomb. So how to code it in GameMaker? You just say, okay, I need to check the collision. The collision means, why is this created? That's my mouse making problem. The collision means two objects touch, they collide, they run into each other, they are touching each other. So I want to collide with which object? In my case it's called obj player 1. In your case, use whatever you use for your player. So again, don't look on those other things, you don't need them. Just find the player which you have used here. I have used obj player 1 and say what? Okay, when I obj bomb touch the obj player, do what? Destroy instance. And destroy which instance? Self. That means the bomb on the screen. Okay, that's also in instances group of blocks. So just find this destroy instance, click and drag it, and you will have the player and the bomb on the screen. So it doesn't have explosion, it doesn't have damage, because we want to make this as simple as possible. And again, instead of bomb, this could be coin and you could be collecting coins. Simple as that. But now the problem is here with the next object, which is called obj bomb delayed. So I will disable it first to recreate all of this for you, and then you will learn how to do it. Let me see, I will make some timestamps for this. Okay, I think that's it, and I will make it a little bit bigger. So yeah, so let me just see. Yeah, this would be around half an hour or so, but again, you will learn a couple of different approaches and so on. So on screen I will just have now my bomb running through its animation again, which is cool and which will show us what. As you have seen, the animation starts running right away when you put the object which has animation on it. In my case, this, let me see, this SPR bomb delayed, let me open it, that's here. Okay, so let me see first why this animation is running right away. And it should be like this, sorry. So this should be the default state if you have some kind of animation. So see now on the screen how fast this thing goes when I touch it. No, I don't even have to touch it, it will just run through crazy. So just look at this bomb and those numbers, how they go so fast. Why is that so? And we have learned that before, but let's do it again because it's important, and that's why I talk this much and this long, because there are different things which you don't see connected at first, but later if you learn them, you will be much faster and better programmer. I have just drag and drop my asset obj bomb delayed from this assets folder to my room, and it starts with animation, and I don't want that. That's crazy, I don't like that. So let's see first what do I have here. I will click on edit image and it will open this bigger image size for me so I can see it more clearly. And for example, this is something which you as a programmer got from your game artist, game designer, and he says, okay, I gave you the artwork for the ticking bomb. It has 5 frames, 5 seconds. I want it 5 frames into 5 seconds, and every frame changing by 1 second. So you have one frame which says 0, another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So that's all cool. You put that in your game engine and it goes like crazy, as we have just seen. So the first thing would be, okay, this is really fast. How should I make it slower? In the top left corner or every sprite you have some kind of FPS which says, in our case, go 30. That means go yeah, I should open one more window, but that means that should go 30 times per second. So this bomb would go that fast because we told her to do that. So it's not a bug, it's a feature. Again, it's a default feature, unfortunately, and because GameMaker doesn't know how you want your images to go fast or slow, he has some default values and you should be able to find those and change them the way you need. Just to show you again how it's connected to the GameMaker in general, click on this game options and you can see here I have game frames per second and it says also 30. So that's maybe 30 or 60 in your case, but it's mostly 30 by default in most of game engines. But sometimes that will work good enough for you, sometimes it won't, so you can change it if you need. But anyway, that's why this guy started this fast. Okay, so if this means this bomb will change 30 frames per second, and I have 5 of those, so it should go, I think, 6 times through all of those in 1 second. Again, I have how many? 6 frames here, and my frame rate says, okay, in 1 second you should change 30 of those, so this will be repeated 5 times because I have 6 of those, and GameMaker says go, make those in 1 second, make them 30. So that's too fast for me, so I want to lower this, and you should do that by trial and error. So for example, if I put 10 like here, or by mathematics or trial and error. So sometimes if you're not good in math, the trial and error will work for you, or opposite. Okay, so obviously this is slower, this looks better. I can read those numbers. In previous try I couldn't, so I will use it even less number, even maybe even 1. Why? Because again, if you think a little bit about it, so if there are 30 frames per second, so I want every second to change 1 frame only, so I will use then 1 as option. So now it should be 1 frame per second, so 1 frame, in my case 1 image, 0, 1 second, 1, 1 second, 2, 1 second, and so on. So you can count on 1, 1, 1, and so on. So every second goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, and it goes in loop. So this works well. So we have solved one problem, so now we have slowed down our image animation. And again, first of all, I have to zoom, and again, some of those things which I'm talking now will confuse you on short run, but on longer run, when you work more and more with those, you will understand them through the work, through experimentation, through your games. So again, in general, we have got some kind of animation. So when you have more than 1 frame, all of those images here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they are called frames in GameMaker and most of other game engines. So I have this frame here which says 0, this frame here 1, and so on. But when you stack them one behind the other or one next to each other, they run like animation. Sometimes you will need that, and sometimes, for example, like with this bomb, if I open this SPR bomb, it doesn't have animation, it doesn't have other frames. I can add frames like this with plus, that would be empty frame, and I can, for example, right click, copy and paste if I want to make another frames, and then draw on this one and so on. That's how I make those numbers on the animated sprite bomb. So this one is not animated, it has only 1 frame, just to show you the difference. And this one is animated, it has lots of frames. Okay, so we have this guy here, player. We have 2 bombs. The one on the left is instance destroy, that works. So the one on the right goes with animation right away. So the first thing which I want to do here now is to stop that animation. We have learned that in previous videos, and for that you can use drag and drop block which is called set animation speed. So that is one of the instances block. You can find it here with this guy here, which is drawn like running or something like that. So click and drag it here, and by default the speed is 1. That means again, by default GameMaker wants to run the animation. In my case, I said okay, change that to 0. That means stop that animation. I don't want animation to run. I want it zeroed. I want it stopped. So when you want to stop it, put 0. When you want to run it, put 1. That one doesn't mean it will change this FPS 30 to 1. That means that's 100%, and 0 0%. It's not working, 1 working. So you can, if you want to make it faster, you can use it by this. This is like a multiplier, and you can use also this one. So again, maybe some of those will confuse you, but I recommend using this only as 0 and 1 for, at least for beginners, just 0 to stop it and 1 to start it. So I said now obj bomb delayed, and where I have made that, I have made it in create event. Why? Because I want my game to start when, like that, when the game starts, when my obj bomb delayed is created, then set animation speed to 1. That means stop the animation. Okay, simple as that. Let's see if it works. You have to check like this, forth and back and forth, to see. So it works. My frame is 0 here, and my bomb is not playing animation. Cool. So what would be next? Next, this guy needed, okay, when my player runs into block, the block plays through a set of flames flames and frames. So let's try to code that. So again, the problem is here what? I need to make this guy colliding with white player colliding with the black bomb animated, and when the white square touches the bomb starts animation. So I need some kind of collision events. Why? Because I need collision coded and I need to code animation. So let's do that. I would probably start with something simple as something like this. Okay, obj player 1, I need to collide with it. Collision obj player 1, simple as that. I already created that. Okay, so next what? I had this animation stopped with speed 1. So how to start it? Let's try with 1. So we said that before. 1 to start animation playing, 0 to stop it. We want our game to start with no animation. Animation stop in create event, and we want our animation to start when this obj player 1 touches the obj bomb. Simple as that. Just drag another block like this and put it into your collision with obj player. So now when I touch obj bomb, my animation should play. So let's test that. Now it doesn't work when the game starts. That's all cool. That's how I want it. But when I touch it, cool, it works. It works already, but the problem here is what? It goes in loops. It goes forever. Why? Because that's how our sprites are animated. That's how GameMaker and game engines work, and they do not suppose anything. They do not know anything before you tell them. So you have to tell them, okay, animation will play through a set of frames when the guy runs into block. We did that. And then what? And then on the final frame it's destroyed. That's what we need to code next. So we have already coded a lot with very simple stuff, but we have also learned a lot of sprites and animation features. Also, there are some features which can confuse you, and we will use them in some other videos to try to make this as short as possible. But you have this kind of playback mode when you want, for example, this to loop forever, like this. So now it will loop. When it's finished, it will loop, and when you change it, you can go from we can use this maybe we can use this maybe, no, this is a ping pong, back and forth, and this one is loop. This one I need reverse loop. Yeah, I need or just disable it, but again it won't disable it on our screen in terms of this would also again go endlessly. Why? Because here the animation is started by code. We said, okay, when the player touches it, we never told GameMaker how to stop it and when to stop it. So again, just go to the question, to the problem, and say, okay, I need to code now what? The final frame, and to check somehow when the final frame happened, and to check if the animation ran through all the frames. So that would be our problem, and there we come to another couple of things which I want to explain here, and you probably maybe already seen those. When you zoom on every sprite which has animations, you have some kind of timeline there below, and you can go through those, and the animation will go step by step manually, or you can just press play, and this timeline and this like needle, you can use it, as I just said, to test your animation manually, but you can use it also to see how many frames you have and how many how they are stacked, and how they are numbered in terms of animation and sprite, and that's where confusion will happen for some of you. You can see here current frame is first out of 6, and this is the second, although if you zoom in, sorry, you can see this first frame, current frame 1 from 6. So again, first of all, you can just count the number of frames. This is the 1, this is the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 frames, and my GameMaker says, okay, 6 out of 6. That makes sense. What doesn't make sense much is when you zoom on first frame, it says from 0 to 1, it's all 0, but when you go to the end of it, it already skips on 2. So these small changes will confuse you. I will show you that on the screen now. And when you go to the end, it says 6 already, even if we are on the end of it. So again, if I come to this start of my 6th frame, it says 6, and the end it's also the 6th, although I see here this needle says 5th frame. So that can confuse you, because think about it as some kind of space in terms of literal space. From 0 to 1, this space here is first frame, but the problem is here on this edge, jumping from first to second. It's already, is it here now first? Why it says first here on the screen, and second with this number, current frame is number 2, and I see it's first frame. So again, don't get confused with that very much in terms of I just wanted to show you, because some of you will stick to these, and you will get even more confused now, because we would have to use a little bit of coding with GML. That's what I wanted to show you also, and that's actually the part of this. I wanted to maybe I can explain it at the end of the video, just to make it more easier. I will open it, but I will explain how I got it later. Okay, so in GameMaker, I have explained that before, there are some kind of functions and variables and stuff which is already defined by GameMaker programmers for you. Those variables, those functions, those features are already in game engines for you, so you can use them, them to make your games faster. One of those functions, features, is image index, and that function, variable, call it whatever you want, gives you, you can read it on your screen if you have opened GameMaker manual and typed image index. This image index, as it's explained here, a sprite is made up of one or more sub-images which can make the sprite appear animated. We have learned that now and seen that in action. Okay, so as they switch from one to another, okay, we know that. Or they can be switched between in code. Okay, so we have also learned that a little bit. Here we have switched some kind of sprites with this set animation speed to turn the animation or turn it on or off, with 0 off, with 1 turn it on. But now the GameMaker programmers, they tell us something more. Okay, if the sprite is animated, then you can get the current frame of the animation by checking the image index variable. Again, this is very, very important. So if the sprite is animated, and we have that with the bomb, you can get the current frame of the animation by checking the image index variable. So what that means in our case, I can get any kind of image here frame anytime I want by checking some kind of variable which is called image index. So GameMaker programmers put that variable for me, and when I pull it out from the GameMaker, it say okay, give me that image index, and if that image index is here, this one, then that means I'm at the end of animation, then destroy it. I don't know if you understood it, but again, GameMaker programmers already put some kind of helpers, functions, variables. One of those is image index, and they make that variable read all of those frames for us, and we can use it to pick any of those just by using image index. The problem here is that, as much as I know, you don't have it in drag and drop. So we have learned drag and drop on my YouTube channel so far in GameMaker Studio, and oops, what I need this at 100%. Okay, so sorry for that was cool for beginners to intermediate users and so on, but the problem here is when you need something which is very specific or more complex and so on. So as much as I know, I couldn't find this image index as a drag and drop block or part of any block, so you have to type it, and that's where we come to GML GameMaker language, which is by default you should type it. You should type it into a code, and these drag and drop blocks, they try to mimic it to make it easier for you, but as much as I know, they didn't made blocks for every feature here. So in my case, I have just used this, and I will show you how to use it for your purpose. I have just typed this variable, so I will now enable it, and again try to define problem here, to solve it here first with your words, and then go to coding. So again, the guy here wants to check the final frame. When I reach the final frame, when I am on the final frame, then destroy the bomb, the block, the instance. Okay, so let's check. This is my final frame, so I will just tell GameMaker if variable, because we have seen here this image index is variable, so I will check the variable, and I can use drag and drop block for that. But this is the most important part. This variable, image index, that variable, it's not defined by me, user, or you. That's something which is already in GameMaker, and you should know that, or be able to find it, or someone should tell it, or you should experiment with it earlier so you can use it. Other way you couldn't know how to find it. So again, when you type, for example, like this image, you will get some kind of built-in variables. So those are already in it by GameMaker itself, by programmers who made the GameMaker Studio. So just find image index, and then say what? Okay, if that image is greater or equal, then what? Then 5. In my case is 5. Why? Because again, this is where again some confusion may occur. So when I go to my image, so this is why I have used the numbers from 0. Image index, they start with 0 in GameMaker and some other game engines mostly. Also works for variables in terms of arrays and so on. So they game engines count from 0 in most cases, so you should be aware of that. That's why I was showing you here how it says, okay, there are 6 frames and this one is first, but when you work with code you should start with 0. Some of you will get confused there. So this is image index 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. Okay, that makes sense for me. For most of you it won't, again, because you start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 0. Just be aware of that. That's what I wanted to say, and that's why I use value 5. So value 5 means that is my image index here. Don't look at this number 5 on the screen. Just count from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how many sprites here I have? I have 6 of those, but because my GameMaker works from 0, I have used this value 5, just to be aware if you get tricked there. And when I go to that value 5, greater or equal, again, I'm not using just equal, I could use that, we can try with that first, but sometimes, because this is running fast, this is running 30 times per second, sometimes it won't get noticed by GameMaker, it will just skip it, it's so fast, or make a glitch or something like that, so it's better to use greater than. So, but we can try with equal first. So that's it, that's actually the code, and I will show you some improvements, but I would need definitely another video for that. So yeah, let's test it. Maybe some error will happen, I think not, but who knows. So now when I touch this animated sprite, its animated animation is stopped by starting. Okay, that's cool. When I touch it, animation starts, and when it goes after or equal to 5th, yeah, you can see how it skips, because it's fast enough, too fast, and it goes from this guy 5 to another. It's just one part of the second, 1 through 30 part of the second. So I will just use equal or greater or equal. So now it should work. And destroy instance, yeah, did I said, yeah, self. Okay, so I think now it should work. It doesn't have explosion, it doesn't have damage. We should code that later maybe. And 1, 2, 3, 4, well, it disappears. A couple of other problems here which can, yeah, I will put more than one bomb just to make it easier for me without restarting the game. So I can put one here and maybe one here. Yeah, and we will finish this soon, don't worry. So let's test it. So the problem here, it's not a problem, but again, it's a feature, it's not a bug, is that some of you maybe will need that last frame which says 5 to be seen on the screen for a split of second or so, because when you watch the bomb now, 1, 2, 3, 4, when it's 5, it disappears. I cannot see the number 5. For some of you it would be okay, because you would not draw these numbers on the bomb anyway. Maybe you will if it's some kind of ticking bomb, and but some of you would need number 5 shown on the screen, and I don't have it here, so maybe your game designer would ask you to change that. Yeah, so we will do that in the next video, just to make those shorter, but in we have coded this one. Yeah, it took me long to do it, but again, the most important thing here is to be aware of this image index, and that's what I will finish with, and explain it how to find it and how to find all of those, because there are tons of built-in variables, functions and stuff in GameMaker and other game engines which you find how this is what I explained here. You need to search for solution. You can use, of course, Google for it, YouTube, forums, but you should use manual and experiment with the games on your own, and then you will learn all of those. Those are not tricks or hidden stuff. These are basics. These are stuff which you need. And in my case, for example, I could Google it like this, and I did that. Image functions GameMaker. So I would recommend this guy if I didn't have time or didn't have knowledge to solve this problem. I would say to this internet guy, okay, so you have some problem with image sprite, frames, final frame. Okay, just try searching for image functions in GameMaker. That's what I googled, image functions GameMaker. So the first result was sprites. Cool, I opened that and get manual with GameMaker guys teaching me how to learn about sprites and how to manipulate. Okay, I need this one, sprite manipulation. Cool. And you run into the functions, into the variables. Sprite exists, add, replicate, duplicate, and so on. So many things to learn and experiment with. I don't need those, I need this one, image index, but actually it was the second result, so I would find it easy like that. And even better search than image functions GameMaker, I would probably search for frame GameMaker Studio. So I would get this guy asked the questions nicely. He need the frame, set of frames, final frame. So I would probably just search for frame, last frame, how to control frames in GameMaker Studio and so on. And I got even my video here, which is probably because I'm logged in on Google. And also the first result for me, I don't know if this would be the same for you, was image index. Again, something which I needed for my problem to solve it. Then when I opened the image index in manual, I would read all of it and I would check it and I will experiment it. And in general, GameMaker manual is great. You should play with it as much as you can and learn from it. And that's it. That's what I said here. Experiment, change the code which you got here on manual or someone gave you, tweak it, copy paste it, and then reuse that code in different situations, but just don't give up. When I say in different situations, just think about instead of coding this guy touching a bomb, but that could be, for example, he touching some kind of door which disappear, or you can use this simple code to code instead of bomb. You could maybe code that some kind of tree or bush on the screen gives some kind of fruit after some time. If some other variable is went through some limit, then create instance instead of destroy instance and so on. So possibilities are endless, and I know I talk a little a bit longer again, but I will make the timestamps or something like that, so you can jump from one portion of the video to another faster. And again, this was problem solution through these steps, which again, when you define them, when you divide them, this you can reuse and then code that faster. And when you code it for yourself, you don't have to explain like I did in my case here for tutorial. So this would be much faster, literally a couple of minutes if so. But the problem here was that you didn't know what to search for. You didn't know this image index, this variable, this function exists in GameMaker, so you couldn't find it. You couldn't know where to start from, what to search for from. So that's why by approaching it this way, you could, I think, you could benefit on long term, on long run. Okay, that's it for this video. Sorry for talking too much. Next video will be maybe me recreating this in Scratch, just to show you how it's always the same stuff, only game engines are changing, but you have the problem which you can solve in different game engines, and that doesn't change. The game engines are only the tools. You will change them, or you will need to change them because of some job, project, and so on. So don't get connected to them. Just think about terms, problem, solution, how to solve that problem, how to make that idea happen, and that's it. Okay, see you soon, and bye for now.